morning, good morning. It is the 29th day of April 2025, the last Tuesday, the last Biashara Tuesday we are having in the month of April, and it's so exciting to be alive, not just being a Kenyan, because if you're someone who is keen on everything that is happening around you, you are aware that at the moment there is mixed reaction in the country concerning the documentary released on Blood Parliament. It is a major conversation going on in the country that people have even forgotten about. President Ruto's visit to China, something that needs to be talked about, what goodies were brought in the country. But before we get into that, the Blood Parliament, what is your opinion about it? There are two sectors or two groups divided, one saying that this is something that is timely, brought by BBC, and it's something that is fueled by, it is politically fueled in terms of governance, fueled by the British government and all that, to destabilize Kenya or to paint Ruto as a bad person. And there's also this other sector that is saying that, you know what, our investigative authorities in Kenya are not doing enough. They would have taken 10 years, something that BBC has taken 1 year, to identify those responsible for the murders. From where you sit, what is your opinion? Do you think this is something that is moved politically in terms of international politics and local politics to paint the government as a bad government? Or do you think that this is just the media doing its own thing? Looking after the people when they can't look upon themselves or look after themselves, or giving a voice to the voiceless. What is your opinion about this current occurrence? And as we speak, the documentary will not be streamed. This is because of various complaints, especially from our leaders who are saying that this is painting a picture that is not of our country. If you've looked at it, you'll notice that there is Kenya Defense Forces sent on a mission pointing guns to citizens. I don't know how you feel about it, but also if you look at it on the other way, is it? So I saw someone say that what did they expect? That they breach parliament, destroy property, and come out of parliament and be given sodas and be celebrated? What did they expect? So from where you sit, what do you think about this happening in the country? It is about 2 months to that anniversary, because this happened on the 25th of June 2024. So much is about to happen between now and then. But before we get there, this is where we are right now. What are your opinions? And also, the reason why this happened was because of the Finance Bill 2024-2025. And now we are approaching the budget making process, which will be beginning early May through June. The budget making process of the Finance Bill 2025-2026. What difference are you expecting? And yesterday, our Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said that public participation is getting more expensive day by day. It costs from 10 million Kenyan shillings to 100 million Kenyan shillings, depending on the geographical position, depending on the engagement. And he says that this is becoming unsustainable. So part of the reason why the Gen Zs or the millennials combined went to the streets last year was because they felt their views were not included in the finance bill, or if they were included, they were not met as per their demands. And right now the government is saying that public participation may not be affordable. The amount required to ensure that public participation is conducted to the fullest may not be possible at the moment. So that means that maybe someone may not be heard because of the finances or because of technicalities. And the government says that if this is done to the fullest, critical services, funding of critical services may be hindered. That includes health, education, infrastructure development. So it's like we are told as a country we need to pick our battle. Either we get services in terms of the funding of these key sectors in the economy, or we get the funding going to public participation of key projects in the country. So that is something that we should also be looking out for this coming month, because your views need to be included. Don't just depend on someone to tell you that there is this thing in the finance bill, there is eco tax levy, there is this. All these things are in the public, so you can always go to Parliament. There is always that document released for the public. You can see for yourself, so that when you're making an argument or when you're going to the public barazas, you have information at hand, not depending on what journalists tell you on screens, on what social media influencers tell you on your screens. Just go and look at it by yourself. That is on the upcoming finance bill, because we are on the budget making process. And if you are keen, you will understand that at the moment, the budget that we are having deficit. What we are collecting as a country, as the GDP, is not enough to fund our spending as a country. And for that reason, the country is forced to borrow either internally or externally. And we are also to talk about that. The country is forced to borrow either internally or externally to fund the budget. So why can't we just live within our means, cut on expenditure, unnecessary expenditure that we are having, cut on corruption to manage our finances? That is a question on everyone's mouth. And while we are always blaming President William Ruto, we should also hold accountable our leaders, because before any budget passes and it's made to be a law, it passes through the Senate, it passes through our members of Parliament, they approve it. So in as much as we blame the president, we also have to hold our leaders accountable, including your woman representative, because they're always there when all this is happening. When the budget is being made, they are always there present. So when the government is to borrow externally, that means the loans are more expensive, and that means you will be required to pay more. And when the government borrows internally, that means the loans are cheaper. But the implications that it has on you as a Kenyan citizen is that when you go to a bank to borrow, just look at it logically. When a bank offers loan to the government, the interest rates are higher and it's guaranteed that it shall be paid. So in that case, you will be competing with the government at the same bank for loans. So that means that your loan margin will probably be reduced to a lower margin, and the government will be getting the higher proportions. So in as much as you feel that this is not going to affect you in any way, the budget making process is not going to affect you in any way, think about it in that manner. If the government borrows externally, you're going to pay higher rates because the interest rates are higher, so you're going to pay more from your taxes. And if the government borrows internally to cater for the budget that is more, you are going to be competing with the government in terms of borrowing from the local banks. So in one way or another, it is affecting you. That's why you need to look at it. You need to check what is the government spending, how much is the government spending on what? Because you might be paying taxes to pay for loans on government spending on tea at billions. So be careful on that development as it is coming in the coming month. And also the president was out of the country for a state visit to China, and unpacking the goodies that were brought in the country, we see that job opportunities being mentioned. But if you look at it keenly, China is a country that has population. So we won't say that the country will be sending workforce to China, because they also have the manpower. So in terms of investment, I think that is something that we should be looking forward to, creating an enabling environment for investors to venture in the country, creating more job opportunities. But would it be better if this environment is created to be favorable for local investors to make more investment in the country? So that is a question that should also be coming through your mind as you ponder upon this development of the goodies that are brought in the country from China. So that is on the developments in the country in terms of what is affecting your pocket as an entrepreneur, and what policies are affecting you as a country, and what you should be looking out for in the coming days. And also through this day, through this broadcast this morning, Biashara Tuesday, we shall be looking at the newspaper review. And on our dailies today, the business daily, we have the biggest headline is a dividend freeze looms as bank race to boost capital. That is something also on your economy. We shall be looking at that story. And also Betway files liquidification amid a 5 billion tax roll within KRA. You see, everyone is now talking about the tax base, capital investment and all that as we are approaching the budget making process. So that is a discussion we'll be having this morning with my panelists. And also on the Daily Nation, the Daily Nation has chosen politics to be the headline today, and it says short-lived truce. And this is, they're talking about the genesis of fallout between President William Ruto and former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And this probably is following the public lecture that former President Uhuru Kenyatta held in Uganda, telling the youth to be vigilant and looking out and calling out on the leadership of the current leadership, because they are the leaders of tomorrow. And that has sparked reactions, especially among leaders who are allied to President William Ruto. And they all say that the president had his tenure and he had the opportunity to give youth chance, which they say he didn't. And in the process, we had various incidents witnessed during his regime where voices were silenced. And they're saying, why is he speaking right now? Is it because there's just a cold war between him and his former deputy president? Or why is he speaking right now? So this is a short-lived truce, as it is called by the Daily Nation. And also the Daily Nation has Matters Education, where students caught up in county bursary rule. This is something that in the recent past you've witnessed before. Last week and the week before, the members of parliament were really having high debated conversations on county allocations of the national government and county development funds, that is NGCDF. And they're saying that the government should release funds to the members of parliament for them to conduct developments in the country. And this is something that it's both talked about by the opposition. Do we call it opposition really? Because at the moment the ODM party is in government. Let's just say by Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga says that the role of the members of parliament is oversight, legislation and representation. And if they're given the funds, how will they oversight themselves? So that is a conversation that has been going on in the country. What is the role of members of parliament? Are they supposed to be given money to give out bursaries, or should the education be free? After all, if this money is allocated to schools from the national government to provide free education, will that be a fair deal? Or what is with the members of parliament wanting to control the national government and county development funds? So that is on the Daily Nation. Moving forward to the Financial Standard, it says Kenya's industrial takes-off faces hurdles, and probably this is because of the various challenges faced by investors coming in the country, not getting favorable business environment. And there was this conversation that foreign investors should be given opportunity to come in the country. And this, an example is given of Laikipia County, where there is a company that left the country. Several companies have left the country, venturing in other countries, and now the president is lobbying for more investors to come in the country. But don't you think that the real conversation that we should be having right now is, why are these companies leaving the country? Instead of lobbying for other companies to come in the country, to venture in the country, invest in the country, we should be asking ourselves, why are the companies that are in the country leaving the country? And what is the different thing that we are doing to make those countries that are those investors that we want them to come in the country to stay in the country? I think that is the conversation we should be having, because we are having a problem of companies coming up and falling apart just as they are rising, and that is something that the Financial Standard is talking about this morning. And the People Daily is talking about how Ruto machinery killed brave Gen Z. And this is, I think, in relation to the documentary released by BBC, and that is just a reaction because the report or the documentary identified police officers, both from the KDF, who fired guns to the protesters, and as it appeared, they aimed to kill because one person was shot on the head, and that is a clear indication that it was a shoot to kill mission. So the People Daily is blaming President William Ruto for the murder of those who lost their lives during the June 25th protest. And on the Standard, they're also giving prominence to the story in relation to Blood Parliament, killers in uniform. And as identified by the documentary, this is given prominence also on the Standard. They say killers in uniform, and the army is also part of those who are identified because they're only sent by the government for special missions. So they've also given prominence to that story. So we shall be talking about those stories this morning. And also, just to mention, this is about the Crochet Fashion Week that is scheduled to be happening in line with a show that always happen on here on KUTV, that is on Fashion Diaries, and it is a free event. That is the Crochet Fashion Week. It shall be taking place on the 4th of May 2025 from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. That is the Crochet Fashion Week, and we shall be giving you updates on that also, as we will be talking about the same here on Fashion Diaries, and also on Art and Culture Monday. And also, not to forget to mention that the person you're seeing on your screen this morning is nominated as the Emerging Female Media Personality of the Year. And this is a request for you to vote for me as the Emerging Female Media Personality of the Year. And my code is at 709 if you're using the that is 7049. If you're using the code, it is *702 *50 hash. The category is Emerging Female Personality of the Year, and the code is 7049. If you're using the website, that is at evopolls.com /polls independent. The category is also the Emerging Female Personality of the Year. So that is on what we are having this morning on the broadcast Biashara Tuesday. But before we get into many more, let's take a look at what is happening on our roads and the weather situation. Now, what is happening on our roads this morning? From where I came from Membli. So that was around 6 a.m. in the morning, and the traffic situation was just fine. I don't know where you are right now. You can share with us where you are. How is the situation from where you sit? But from where we are right now, from Thika Road, it's always, Thika Road, from Rosters all the way to Mutaiga, it's always a snarl. But let's just confirm from Google what is happening right now. And I am opening that. Sorry. So from Nairobi, all the tributaries entering Nairobi at this moment, it is Tuesday and it is 8. Most people are already getting to work, or they have already gotten to work. So if we look at the roads leading to town, I told you that here, Thika Road is always as we expect, and that is today, that is from Allsops, that is from Outer Ring all the way to Muthaiga, that is at the interchange where you're coming from Kiambu Road, Snarlaps all the way to Muthaiga Road, and just after there, heading to town, all ways are clear. And also, another road that you should be looking at, those using Jogoo Road, entering town through Gikomba Market. Around that place, there's quite snarl-ups. Those using Mombasa Road from Kenya Railway Museum, those using Mombasa Road from that route, your way is also packed. There is quite snarl-ups on that route. Those using that route. All the other tributaries leading to town, if I look at it, they are looking quite fine. It is 8 a.m., so most people are already at work. And those using Mombasa Road also, from Kempinski all the way to Kenya National Museum, around the roundabout, your way also looks, the traffic is quite packed. So if you can use other alternative, that will be fine for you. State House Road looking quite okay. Those using that road, it's fine. Kenyatta Avenue joining to Mombasa Road as you head to town, there is a bit of traffic, so you can also use other alternative. So that is just a brief look on the traffic situation. All the other tributaries leading to town are looking quite fine, if you ask me. Yeah, that is on the traffic situation. Now moving on, looking at the weather situation. This morning has been quite warm because for not the first time, but we have seen, if you woke up early, you would see that you had the sunrise. You saw the sunrise, and it was quite warm. A good weather to be to go to town. If you're going to swimming, you can also do that. I saw someone carrying an umbrella today, and I was like, you people should really be looking at the weather situation, because first, if we look at what the Kenya Meteorological Department is telling us, you know, Kenya Met happens to be among the departments in the country which are really doing their work diligently. So Kenya Met says the weather outlook from 29th April, that is from today to 5th May 2025, that is a span of 7 days. Rainfall reduction this week, although rainfall is expected over a few parts of the country. So through this week, there is a reduction of rainfall, and average daytime, that is maximum temperatures of more than 30 degrees Celsius will be experienced in the coast, northeastern and northwestern Kenya, as well as all over, as well as over isolated areas in western Kenya and southeastern lowlands. And the night, that was the maximum daytime temperatures, and at night, average nighttime minimum temperatures will be less than 10 degrees Celsius in some parts of the Central Highlands, the Central Rift Valley, and in the vicinity of Mount Kilimanjaro. That is just on what is happening, what is expected in the next 7 days. So there will be reduction of rainfall in most parts of the country. So you won't be required to carry that heavy jacket, heavy trench coat, carrying your gumboots going to town. I witnessed that last week, where people were really wearing gumboots in the CBD, and it was, should I say interesting? Yes, interesting. Now that is on the weather situation and the traffic updates. We are taking a very short break, and we'll be back with news updates.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Ewa Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Ungana nami Malkia wa Taarab katika mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV. Yaani tunapozungumzia mitindo ya kipwani basi unaona napigwa na mawimbi makali sana ya baharini kutoka katika ufuo wa hoteli moja inayofahamika kama North Coast Beach Hotel, ambao ndio wadhamini wa kipindi hiki cha mitindo ya kipwani. Penzi mtazamaji, kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hutakosa kupata mapishi ya vyakula vya kipwani. Yaani hapa tunazungumzia vyakula vilivyokolezwa na kukorombezwa. Iliki, karafuu, abdalasini, samaki wa baharini, vyakula vilivyopikwa na kusukwa kwa kutumia nazi. Bila kusahau mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja, mazungumzo ya kusisimua na wataalam tofauti, waandishi wa vitabu waliobobea, watunzi wa kuhani mashairi. Bila kusahau mpenzi mtazamaji, taratibu zetu za taarab na chakacha. Yaani pale ni pale ambapo viuno vya wanawake vinazungushwa kisawasawa kama panga boy za trekta ndani ya KUTV mitindo ya kipwani. Ukiwa nami na hodha wako Waridi Tamu. Usiakose matamu jamani.
Welcome back. Now you are watching KUTV Rise Today, Biashara Tuesday, and we have been giving you updates on what we are having on the show and what you should be expecting. Thoughts that trigger your mind into thinking about yourself and your pocket, because as a country or as a person, it is important to understand what gets into your pocket and what gets out of your pocket, how it does that, how you can improve that, policies that can help you change that, and who to address when you're having problems. And that's why we are having this show this morning. And right about now, we are just about to have our news updates, which we are going to give you updates in the political world, in the humanitarian world, and in the economics world. So just to set us rolling, the cracks within the broad-based government formed by President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga appear to be widening. This follows calls by Ruto's allies for their ODM counterparts to stop publicly opposing the broad-based government. Our political reporter, Blue Smile Hassan, analyzes how the political marriage started falling apart and examines whether these two parties can remain united until 2027.
It is a political marriage seen as a potential solution to ensuring President William Ruto's re-election come 2027.
Leo tumeweka sahihi kwa mkataba.
The broad-based government between the ruling UDA party and ODM was formalized through a signed MOU between the two parties on 7th March 2025. This led to some key ODM figures joining government and taking up significant roles in major ministries and in National Assembly and Senate committees.
Leo mimi na baba tumeweka sahihi maelewano ya kuunganisha taifa la Kenya iwe taifa moja.
But now, things seem to be falling apart. Internal conflicts are emerging within the broad-based government, with everyone pulling in different directions. Tensions surfaced during the funeral of Raila's former where ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and Governor James Orengo clashed with colleagues supporting the broad-based government.
We can say many things, and me, I cannot be praise singing, because we fought for a democratic constitution where people should talk, where people should talk, where people should talk.
Governor ANYANGO followed suit when President Ruto proposed that the road maintenance levy fund be left for the national government. Governor ANYANGO accused President Ruto of undermining devolution. The remarks by the governors and some of Raila's allies sparked internal strife in ODM, with many seeing them as opposing the broad-based government, which, according to them, has brought development to the Nyanza region.
We demand that Governor James Orengo unequivocally apologize publicly to Raila Amolo Odinga over what he did during the burial of Raila's bodyguard.
Raila Odinga, noticing the cracks within his house,
nilisema za kwamba sisi tuko demokrasia. Na demokrasia kila mtu akona haki ya kuongea.
But now, Kenya Kwanza allies are urging ODM leaders to stop the doublespeak of publicly criticizing Ruto's government while still being part of it.
Na asubuhi tunazungumza upande huu unazungumza tofauti, jioni upande huu unazungumza tofauti. My brothers for this region, huu huu unawategemea sana kwa matamshi yenu. Let us not confuse this community.
As these divisions continue to deepen within the broad-based government, questions have arisen as to whether this Ruto-Raila broad-based government can weather the storm and govern effectively. Political analyst Brian Masjid says that whilst it is possible, the political turbulence could intensify.
This pact between ODM and UDA is very different. It is not imposed by any international partner or international community. Fundamentally, ODM and UDA are rival parties. They were built on different philosophies. The philosophy of ODM is very different from the philosophy of UDA. And this is making them not to coexist peacefully, because they hold different ideologies, they hold different views. So in the sense that the views are contradicting, because one party holds a different view, the other holds a different view. For instance,
Masjid notes that if ODM decides to field its own presidential candidate in 2027, separate from UDA, this political marriage will lose its foundation and fall apart.
This marriage will likely collapse before 2027 elections. The moment ODM will officially nominate a candidate to vie for the presidency, then the marriage ends, because both of them will be in need to campaign against each other because they will be rivals.
Blue Ismail Hassan, KUTV.
Now, President William Ruto continues to encounter mounting resistance from critics determined to make him a one-term president. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now emerged as the leading voice of this opposition, with his recent remarks clearly portraying him as a man on a mission to unseat his former boss. Edward Nyamo explores the evolving political landscape.
Harambe! Nikisema Kasongo aende mnasema antam. Kasongo aende! Kasongo aende! Ni muongo si muongo?
It is now clear that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has turned against his former allies, this time with the clear intentions of dismantling their hold on power.
Kasongo ni muongo si muongo? Yeah? Ni muongo si muongo? Aende asiende? Aende asiende? Atembee asitembee? Wangapi wanasema Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende?
While Gachagua mounts his political offensive, President William Ruto has secured billions of dollars in loans during his visit to China, a move many critics argue will further strain the burden on Kenyan citizens. Ndindi Nyoro, a vocal opponent of the rising national debt, has been at the forefront of addressing these concerns.
Government assets exist to make money for the government. They do not exist as jewels. Zile assets ambazo serikali iko nazo, zingine hata hakuna fedha iliwekwa hapo. Government stake, for example, in Safaricom is more than or going to 300 billion Kenya shillings. It was more before. If we value an asset like Safaricom very well, the government can easily get the monies that we are borrowing externally by selling just a proportion of Safaricom as an institution.
Nevertheless, President Ruto appears to be charting a path forward.
As the first African state visit to China this year mirrors my 2024 visit to the United States, the first African state visit there in 15 years. Perhaps, symbolically, Kenya can serve as a bridge between East and West, North and South, in an era of deepening geopolitical tensions.
Despite the growing wave of criticism, Ruto remains steadfast in his ambition to revitalize Kenya's economy, a vision firmly supported by his loyalties.
Hii serikali ya Kenya kwanza, kama kuna watu wanafaa kujifunia ni watu wa hii mlima. Kama kuna watu wanataka wajue hii serikali ni yao, ni nyinyi.
Besides you as our deputy president in this government, tuko na mawaziri 7 kutoka Mount Kenya in this government. Tuko na PSs moja PSs 15, 15 principal secretaries from this Mount Kenya region.
However, questions remain as 2027 approaches. Will Ruto lean on Raila Odinga for support, or does he have a strategy to neutralize his critics?
Najua mtihani ni 2027. Na hiyo mtihani ya 2027 sipangi kuanguka hiyo mtihani. Hiyo mtihani ya 2027 mimi najua vile nitapita hiyo mtihani.
Tensions on the ground are quickly rising as the 2027 elections approach. Political realignments are happening, with the parties like Bas Party adjusting their positions, although they have publicly distanced themselves from any talks of mergers. The political scene is now rapidly taking shape, and Kenyans are watching closely to see which directions their leaders will take. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
Now, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has expressed worry over the rising cost of implementing public participation processes as required by the Article 10 and 118 of Kenya's Constitution. According to Mudavadi, estimates for public engagement efforts range from 10 million Kenyan shillings to 100 million Kenyan shillings per exercise, depending on the magnitude and geographical coverage. Speaking at a high-level meeting with the United Nations country team led by resident coordinator Stephen Jackson, Mudavadi warned that the current cost model is unsustainable, pointing out that such financial demands could deprive vital sectors like health, education, and infrastructure of critical funding.
There are 2 issues that we are grappling with. One is cost in terms of the financial implications, and then the other is cost in terms of time, the lead time between formulating something and implementing. And that, of course, feeds into the political boiler room, depending on how you manage it. So we really need some urgent intervention here, I can tell you that. We are seeing proposals of public participation for one piece of legislation ranging from 10 million shillings to 100 million shillings. It's not tenable. It cannot work. If you talk of how many roads would you do? How many water projects would you do? that have the direct impact on the people. How much medicine can we provide in public institutions? So this is a constitutional issue, but we need to rationalize it without undermining the whole aspect of the constitution. So,
now, still on the same, well, that makes sense. When it comes to something that requires public scrutiny, why is it that all of a sudden we are concerned about sustainability, but when it comes to teas offered in board meetings, why is it not a concern that it's not sustainable? When it comes to salaries being raised for our members of parliament and all that, why is it not a concern that it's not sustainable? But when it comes to something that raises concern about the country wanting to know what exactly is happening, why is that a concern? That is a question you should also be asking ourselves. Now on to a sad news. 5 persons were killed and several others injured on Monday in Angata Barikoi in Narok County as a result of violent encounters between residents and security forces during a disputed land delineation exercise. Tensions over ownership of a 6,800-acre plot of land spurred unrest, with irate people barricading highways, torching several vehicles, and confronting police, resulting in violent clashes. As the community mourns, officials are urging the immediate action to solve the long-standing land dispute that are fueling the discontent. According to Joel Langat, the officer in charge of Angata Barikoi Health Center, 4 people were brought in dead, while the 5th succumbed to gunshot wounds while undergoing treatment.
Hatukuja Ang'ata tunyanyaswe. Wale watu wamewawa, ng'ombe ameibiwa hapa. Ng'ombe akiibiwa aende, hakuna serikali ambayo anashughulika. Juzi ng'ombe 13 waliwawa, mahindi yanafyekwa, lakini serikali hashughuliki. Akifika maneno ya shamba, watu wanawawa. What kind of government is this?
Hii kisaka ilitupata tukiwa kwa shamba, nikiwa ninapalilia kwa shamba. Ndio wakaanza kupiga marisasi juu mpaka wakanipa hiyo majeraha ambayo mnaiona kwa kichwa.
Sisi tulikuwa tunapalilia. Kidogo kidogo tunasikia mlio wa risasi. Kidogo kidogo watu wameanza kupigwa ovyo. Kuinuka kidogo ndio watu wameanguka. Sasa tunashindwa jamii, kama ni shamba tutangechukua shamba, lakini hawajawahi watu. Tunatumiwa haki. Tuko na haki kwa shamba yetu juu hatukuiba. Tuko na kilio kubwa juu tumepoteza ndugu zetu.
When will our land problems be solved? Because how comes a single piece of land can have several title deeds when we have the Ministry of Land that is to be functioning? Another question we should be asking ourselves this morning. Now, 18 years after the 2007-2008 post-election violence, internally displaced persons, IDPs from Migori County, are demanding compensation as per government agreements. Jared Ochieng, chairperson of IDPs in Migori, criticized delays in payments despite funds being allocated. Mary Binsari, who lost her child and endured trauma, called on the government to honor its promise. Despite the 17.5 billion spent, many IDPs remain uncompensated, fueling anger and frustration.
Walipata 10,000 na watu kama sisi hatukupata. Baadhi ya watu wengi sana hawakupata hizo pesa. Kwa koti tukapeleka ujumbe kwa parliament. Ikawa tumeingia huko, tukaweka maneno huko kwa parliament, baada wakapitisha kwamba tulipwe tena. Kwa hivyo tulikaa tumepoteza, tunangojea wakati ili sisi pia tulipwe hiyo fidia yetu. Kwa hivyo sasa pesa imeshatoka muda mrefu sana, wamekubali kutupatia hiyo fidia. Tunaomba serikali waharakishe haraka ili watu.
Now, that is on the IDPs and funding. And if that is 2007, 2008, and there is no compensation yet, what about those who we are currently talking about, those who lost their lives on June 25th? Will they ever be compensated? Another question that should be lingering in our minds. Now, residents of Embu County living in landslide-prone areas have been cautioned to remain vigilant following heavy rains that have triggered a massive landslide in Kamutungi village. Over 3 acres of farmland have been destroyed, leaving families devastated.
A massive landslide struck Kamutungi village in Embu County last Tuesday, carving a 10-foot deep gully across 500 meters and sweeping crops, beehives and water infrastructure into River Ena. Over 10 families lost their lives, with arrowroot, muguka and sugarcane farms destroyed. Embu County Commissioner Jacob Buo has cordoned off the area, urging residents to stay away until proper assessments are conducted to ensure their safety. He confirmed that the County Disaster Management Committee is already assessing the broader impact of the heavy rains across the county and is advocating for strict safety measures.
Tumetoa onyo kwa wananchi wetu pia wakuwe waangalifu kidogo wakati huu wa mvua, kwa sababu kuna areas ambaye ziko na ile history ya landslides, na sana sana hapa area kama Ena. Juzi tulipata incident moja ambaye kuna area karibu Ena River ilikuwa affected na landslide, na kiwango kikubwa cha mashamba ilioshwa ama ilienda na maji, lakini kwa bahati mzuri hatukupata madhara ama binadamu, maisha ya binadamu ama watu wakakuwa displaced ama mtu kupotesha maisha.
Joshua Kinyua, one of the affected residents, says the landslide has left families helpless with their main sources of livelihood washed away. He has appealed to the government for urgent support as they also fear further landslides with cracks already visible in surrounding areas.
Tulikuwa tukitumia hii samba kulima na kuuza hiyo vitu. Tulikuwa tunalima miwa, ndoma, mandizi. Ndizo tulikuwa tunasomesha watoto wetu nazo. Ndizo ilikuwa tegemeo letu. Ukiangalia hii ni kama eka 3 ilienda. Tunaogopa hata tulali. Usiku mtu anasikia kitu ikitingisha kidogo, ikiangusha kidogo, tunasikia uoga.
Meanwhile, the county commissioner also revealed that authorities are closely monitoring the 7 folk dams, which are filling up rapidly, to prevent any disaster and ensure timely updates are provided to relevant authorities. Brenda Nyongesa, KUTV.
Now, special schools in Busia and Bungoma have appealed to the government through the Ministry of Education and Sports to increase funding for Term 2 school games. Teachers and learners speaking at St. Bridget Akoret Special School for the Deaf emphasized that enhanced support would allow students with special needs to showcase their talent at the international level. Boaz Makoha, a paravoli coach from Malondo CBM, urged the government not to overlook talent in special schools, noting these learners have never been supported to participate in East African Games. Learners also requested for school buses to help develop their talents beyond Kenya.
We've been playing these games for quite some years, but we have only been reaching at national level. So my appeal to the government through the Ministry of Sports and also the Ministry of Education is to allow our special needs games also to participate in East African Challenge competition, because we have never been given that opportunity. And we are not able to expose our participants to the rest of away from Kenya.
Tunaomba kama sisi wanafunzi, juu kwa sisi kabisa ndo wametutupa nyuma kulingana nao wengine wenzetu wana ule uwezo wa kutembea. Rais, mwaka huu kweli tukumbuke pia nasi, juu pia sisi tuna ule bidii ambao huwa tunatoa, lakini hatujai kabisa kuonekana kabisa tuna ule uwezo, juu tukifanya si uwezo wetu hakuna hadi kitu tunatuzwa kabisa naye.
Juu last kwa tumeambiwa tunaenda Egypt, but wakadelay kutuletea passports. Then of course East Africa, hivyo tumesori nyamaza. So tunamuomba isiishe hivyo iendelee.
Now, if you're in Kenya, you know that this week is a back to school week, and the Ministry of Education said that it will ensure all students age children report for the second term. That is from yesterday going forward, according to a team of education officers. Following a one-week mop-up exercise in Turkana counties, Kakuma and Kalobeye refugee camps, authorities confirmed that numerous students had dropped out of school. The team, led by Turkana County Director of Education, Dr. Henry Lubanga, found that 374 Elimu scholarship students are absent from school due to a variety of issues, including teenage pregnancies, early marriages, truancy, and relocation to other countries. Dr. Lubanga emphasized that while learners in the camps face numerous challenges, this should not be used as an excuse to drop out of school.
Siku ya leo mtusaidie tuweze kutafuta hao watoto, na kwa sababu mashule zinafunguliwa next week, tukipata hao watoto tutaweza kuambia warudi kwa shule, because you are aware that the future of this world, the future of any country is in the hands of the youth.
County would like to have all the children go to school, and particularly those ones who have been given the opportunity through Elimu scholarship. Use this opportunity well and make use of it and get quality education. As a county, we promise to support the initiatives and ensure that those learners who are here to be traced are traced through the mechanisms and structures are established in the camp and the settlement, and have them join school.
Now, at the same time, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection is relying on artificial intelligence, that is AI, to eliminate workplace dangers that can result in fatalities and severe impairments. Dr. Andrew Muruka, Director of Occupational Safety and Health Services, says that by appropriately leveraging digitization, the government will not only increase productivity but also reduce tragedies in the construction and agriculture sector. The declaration included a plea to the government to prioritize funding for mental health in the workplace. Even in the age of digitization, over the past week, several activities have been held, including training workers in both the informal and formal sectors on occupational safety and the process of claiming compensation in cases of workplace injuries.
We have concluded the National Occupational Safety and Health Conference, and alongside the theme, we also touched on the issues on how we can use artificial intelligence and digitalization to improve workers' safety in all sectors of the economy. We noted that artificial intelligence and digitalization are immediately critical in the most hazardous sectors of the economy, and this include construction sector, heavy machinery sector, and heavy manufacturing, and also in agriculture. So these are areas that require the use of artificial intelligence so that we relieve the human workers of the burden associated with hazards that they have to face. So for example, we can use wearable devices to detect occupational exposure for workers in agriculture, and thereby be able to establish if any worker is exposed before the exposure exceeds occupational exposure limits.
And a section of Seventh-day Adventist Church members in Kisii County raised concerns regarding the management of a major community health center. The protesters marched from the Bomachoge Borabu area, expressing their dissatisfaction with the leadership at Riokindo Health Center and unanimously calling for urgent reforms in its leadership structure. Additionally, the members appealing to the president of the Southeast Kenya Field, Pastor James Ondabu, to intervene, citing that the once crucial facility has been left in a dilapidated state due to poor management. Among their grievances are the sudden dismissal of workers, unclear employment practices, embezzlement of funds, and allegations that medical equipment has been diverted for personal use.
Nianza kusema kama ushahidi, kuna treasurer wa SCEF saa hii hawako pamoja kwa sababu anachukua mamlaka mkononi, anafanya vile anataka. Kitu kingine, kinachosumbua hospitali hii ni pesa zinazoingia. Ni yeye peke yake anajua na ni ngapi anatoa na ni ngapi zimebakia.
Appealing to our leaders to come down, to sit with the community development people, so that we can forge our way forward on how we can improve our facility Lokindo, so that it may save the lives of our people whenever they had a problem on medical issues.
Now, moving on, Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria has called on the country's leadership to exercise political tolerance and champion a development-based agenda that will enhance service delivery to the citizens. The CS was speaking during the issuance of 43.2 million shillings in National Government Constituencies Development Fund NGCDF bursaries for secondary schools, where he urged leaders across the board to invest in building capacity and implementing projects within their respective jurisdictions. Mburia also called upon the region to shun retrogressive politics, which he argued have been affecting development projects in the coastal region. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Changamwe constituency Omar Mwini has called on the leadership in the coast region to speak with one voice and champion the unity of coastal residents.
Vile rais wetu na baba wote wana nia ya kuunganisha Kenya, mimi nawaomba tuwaunge mkono ili hii nchi isiwe ni nchi ya makabila, iwe ni nchi ya Wakenya.
Mimi nasema kama kiongozi wenu, mimi si mjinga na mimi sina tamaa ya kibinafsi. Mimi wakati wa Moi nilipewa 20 million wachane na IPK. Nikamwambia kaeni na hiyo pesa yenu. And that is why mpaka leo naheshimika. Kwa sababu gani? Si mtu wa kununuliwa. Ukiangalia hii maneno yote ya Ilunga Unuse ya wapi, kama ningekuwa kiongozi wa kutumiwa na watu wengine, watu wetu wangekuwa wametolewa kila mahali.
Lakini nimweleze baba yetu Raila, tunampenda, tunamwenzi, tuko na yeye, anatusaidia katika serikali. Lakini inapofika katika jambo la NGCDF, naona kidogo amepoteza network. Haiwezekani hawa wananchi wote walioko hapa wanasema NGCDF iendelee, lakini wewe unasema NGCDF isiendelee. Hapo kidogo naona unakosea wananchi na tunakupenda.
Lakini mimi nasema kama Mama Zamzam, kwa vile amechukua Hassan Ali Joho yuko ndani, kwa vile amechukua Mvuria yuko ndani, kwa vile amechukua mashetani anafanya kazi, mimi nasema Ruto tumwache afanye kazi yake ya mali.
Kenya is a very interesting country. Sometimes you hear broad-based government, sometimes you hear bread-based government. I don't know which is which. Now, according to the Ministry of Health, 153 cholera cases have been recorded in the 3 counties of Migori, Kisumu, and Nairobi. Speaking during a church service in Gichugu, Kirinyaga, Principal Secretary for Health Mary Mudhoni said that 53 cases have been reported in Migori, 56 cases in Kisumu, while 44 cases have been reported in Nairobi County. Mudhoni says that all efforts are being made to stop further spread of the disease in the said counties and even outside the 3 counties. She further urged the public to observe cleanliness, boil water alongside other measures during the ongoing rainy season so as to curb the spread of the disease.
Therefore, we have enhanced our surveillance across the country to ensure that we have surveillance activities which are strengthening the communities to ensure there is early detection of any form of disease. We have also had laboratory investigations enhanced so that we test all our diseases in this country and any outbreak in the country. We are scaling up our risk communication. Information and messaging should go to the people. I'm calling upon all the stakeholders, the church, the religious leaders, the donor community, the schools, Ministry of Education. The schools are opening next week. So I'm calling upon each one of them to help us with messaging and help us with risk communication that will get to the people on what to do and what.
Now, over the weekend, the president was not in the country, but his absence in the country did not stop leaders allied to him from calling out president critics. Led by Farouk Kibet and Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, the leaders attended a church service where they called on Kenyans to exercise peace in this time when the political temperatures are escalating. The leaders lauded the broad-based government, stating that it has eased government undertakings. The leaders also lauded President William Ruto for the successful visit to China that will see several projects commissioned across the country.
Leo hii rais wa zamani akisema anapenda vijana, ule ndio unafisi ambaye inafanya Yesu awezi akarudi saa hii mpaka ule mzee ya zamani Uhuru Kenyatta abadilishe mawazo yako. Sisi kama serikali tumekubali kwamba we can be lectured by anybody from everywhere, ili tuweke bidii tufanye wananchi hawa kazi. Lakini kama wewe ulikuwa na nafasi ya miaka 10 kama rais, tuko na mwingine huko kwetu huko Bungoma anaitwa Eugene Wamalwa, alikuwa waziri miaka 18, hakulete maji, hakutumia nafasi yake kushughulikia jamii yetu, kushughulikia jamii ya Kenya. Lakini saa hii anatupiga lecture vile serikali inafaa kuongozwa, na wao walikuwa na nafasi.
Kwa nafasi hii nishukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kwa ile safari amekuwa nayo China. Kuna mambo mazuri ambayo ametuletea.
And just to put those sentiments into context, that was of a former President Uhuru Kenyatta's remarks that were made in Uganda during a public lecture urging all youths to be responsible and be actively involved in their country's political space and question their leaders on the governance. And he was just saying that the young people in the country should take up space. And that's why the Member of Parliament was saying that they cannot take lectures from anyone, especially those who are in power. Now, on to agribusiness. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki affirmed the government's effort to streamline the fertilizer subsidy program for coffee farmers in order to sustain coffee prices, which have hit record highs of between 120 and 148 shillings per kilogram of sherry, a first in 35 years. The second in command hinted that new acts of parliament to govern coffee and cooperatives will be enacted and assented to law within the next month or two. Speaking during a consultative engagement with over 5,000 coffee farmers and leaders of 24 cooperative societies in Embu County, that was on Saturday, Kindiki said that after dismantling the cartels that for decades controlled the millings, brokerage and marketing of coffee, the government has now embarked on robust marketing of Kenyan coffee around the world.
Tuboreshe usimamizi wa vyama vya ushirika vya kahawa na vyama vya ushirika vile vingine. Kwa hivyo tumesema kuendelea mbele lazima kuwa una uchaguzi wa wanaoongoza vyama vya ushirika kila baada ya miaka mitatu. Huwezi kuwa wewe ni director ama wewe ni chairman milele.
Sasa mapato ya kahawa imeanza kupanda. Kwa sababu hapa tukiwa tumeketi hapa, kuna wale wametolewa rate yao na 148, wengine 147, wengine iko chini kidogo, wengine wanangoja ikuje. Lakini tuko na matatizo ya mbolea. Kwa sababu mbolea ya kupanda mahindi inakuja ikiwa kidogo. Mtu akijaribu kupanga namna hii, anapata hakuna mbolea.
Serikali ya Kenya imesema ya kwamba italipa madeni ambayo yanadaiwa vyama vya ushirika vya kahawa katika Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya.
Now, in a bid to increase food production through integration of organic resources, as farm inputs and adoption of organic practices, Vihiga County launched the agroecology policy. Speaking during the launch, Vihiga Governor Dr. Wilbur Otichilo expressed his optimism of the policy's health and economic benefits to the people and urged all residents to embrace it to ensure smooth implementation. On his part, the County Director of Agriculture, Ruben Chumba, promised to partner with like-minded stakeholders to ensure uptake of the policy and its implementation as he challenged other neighboring counties to adopt the policy.
As we implement this policy, I would want, with the help of our government partners, to go further and translate this policy into law. Because eventually we must have an act which prescribes in details how we implement this law, this policy, and how everybody will be encouraged to embrace the policy in terms of principles. So it's in due course we are going to we'll start the process of formulating ecology bill that specifies on how it should be done. And once you have a bill and a law, then it obligates everybody to follow.
Now, for a long time, we have really criticized the churches for being involved in our current leadership or political spaces. Some negatively, some positively, but local church leaders are championing for events that nurture not just spiritual, but also physical fitness, mental, and social well-being. At the second edition of a much-anticipated sports event, Reverend George Mburu Njoroge of ACK Canon Hesbon emphasized the importance of holistic growth, unity, and fellowship values that are transforming participants.
Grounds of Kenyatta University, the atmosphere was electric, not just with the competition, but with a sense of unity and purpose. Reverend George Mburu Njoroge of ACK Canon Hesbon highlighted the event's mission goes far beyond athletics. Reverend Njoroge noted the remarkable increase in turnout compared to last year.
For the sports, it is a continuation of the health activities which we always do every year in the month of August, because we focus on not only the spiritual growth in our church, but we focus on the holistic growth, which includes the spiritual, the physical, the mental, and also all other aspects of growth.
The Reverend urged participants to care for one another, reflecting the belief that as one part of the body of Christ grows, so does the whole community.
Also meant to grow our faith, because we are reminded, and we are also reminding ourselves today during the church service, because this activity starts with the worship. We are reminding ourselves that we are the body of Christ, and as the body of Christ we need to take care of one another, because when one part grows, the whole body of Christ grows. When one part of the body is hurt, the entire body of Christ is hurt.
Sports, as many participants shared, can serve as a powerful catalyst for spiritual and communal growth, helping individuals connect with God and each other through teamwork and shared goals.
So far we have won 2 games and I'm glad. It helps us come together, bond, something that we are not able to do when we go to church and go home. The games bring us together and help us to know each other, bond, even our children to grow, and even physical fitness. I want to encourage everybody that they embrace that idea that these games are not to come and like do competitions, but it's supposed to help us bond and grow together as a community.
One participant from Jericho summed up the experience that sports, when rooted in faith and fellowship, can enrich lives in profound ways, turning physical activity into a celebration of unity, growth and spiritual vitality.
Our youth, they live for this day because this is where they come, they showcase what they do, and because of that you find many of them coming to church because of the activities in the church. In essence, it means we have fewer, or rather we have at least managed to get a few youth from the environment who could probably have gotten to the wrong side of living.
This sports event had become much more than a game. It was a living example of holistic development where body, mind and spirit thrive together. Brenda Nyongesa, KUTV.
Now that is on our news update this morning. We have had so much from sports to entertainment to politics and everything in between. Now coming up next is newspaper review, and I'll be joined by Blue Smile Hassan, who is already in studio. Niruhusu nikazungumze kwa Kiswahili kwa maana Blue Smile Hassan ni Mswahili. Atakuwa anatusaidia kuchambua masuala ya siasa leo kwenye magazeti. And then we'll also be joined by Robin Karani, who is the advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Robin Slow. And they are already in studio. Quite an engaging discussion. We'll be having an analyst, and also we'll be looking at it from the legal perspective. So stay tuned for the same coming up after the break.
They are powerful and influential. They make decisions in politics, education, finance, agriculture, health, sports, and all aspects of human life. But the impact of their decisions falls on you, the common citizen. KUTV Primetime News Thursday. We ask bold questions and pursue answers to the core to bring you closer to the story. We couldn't have it any other way. Join me, Auma Evans, as I raise matters of social concern to raise your voice from the background to the foreground.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mokwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia.
They find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated,
inclusive setups,
by providing the right facilities.
Ni nguzo na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka akawa tuzo, ukakamavu wake ukatii na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke akabaini jinsi ya kuweni. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari kwa jinsi alivyo ng'ari. Mimi ni mwanamke mwake. Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake nami Caroline Kimweli.
Ungana nami Malkia wa Taarab katika mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV. Yaani tunapozungumzia mitindo ya kipwani basi unaona napigwa na mawimbi makali sana ya baharini kutoka katika ufuo wa hoteli moja inayofahamika kama North Coast Beach Hotel, ambao ndio wadhamini wa kipindi hiki cha mitindo ya kipwani. Penzi mtazamaji, kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hutakosa kupata mapishi ya vyakula vya kipwani. Yaani hapa tunazungumzia vyakula vilivyokolezwa na kukorombezwa.
iliki, karafuu, abdalasini, samaki wa baharini, vyakula vilivyopikwa na kusukwa kwa kutumia nazi, bila kusahau mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja, mazungumzo ya kusisimua na wataalam tofauti, waandishi wa vitabu waliobobea, watunzi wa kuhani mashairi, bila kusahau mpenzi mtazamaji, taratibu zetu za taarabu na chakacha. Yaani pale ni pale ambapo viuno vya wanawake vinazungushwa kisawasawa kama panga boy za trekta ndani ya KUTV mitindo ya kipwani. Ukiwa nami nahodha wako Waridi Tamu. Usiyakose matamu jamani.
Where we ask the coolest questions in science. Let's go! Is yogurt really just rotten milk? Why do humans need sharks to survive? How did a 12-year-old boy from Africa invent modern vanilla farming? How do you deliver medicine to a chimpanzee? Can poop be useful? How can you save the planet by reducing air pollution? To help us answer these questions, we are inviting some wonderful guests from the world of science. They will enlighten you, make you hungry for knowledge, oxygenate your brain, and make your ideas flow. This is Engine Season 3. Let's go!
Badala ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili.
Bila woga, watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi. Hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Imagine a world where you are empowered to take charge of your health, where you are well informed about the latest advancements in healthcare and understand the policies that impact your well-being. Get ready to take charge of matters your health as we bring you a blend of weekly health features that engage professionals from across various medical fields.
When do you decide as a patient, do I need to go see the doctor? We are at a stage where we are seeing all this manner of chronic illnesses and we wait until we get a disease and then is when we go ahead.
From the most mundane to the complexities that perhaps seem overwhelming, we got you covered.
In terms of the factors that might be attributed, there are hereditary factors that means it could be genetic, so that's one factor. But there are other factors as well, like nutritional deficiencies. So some vitamins such as folate have been identified to be a factor in those. So
our mission is to break down intricate health topics into understandable and actionable insights. Join me, Yvonne Kimuma, every Wednesday 9 p.m. on KUTV's News at 9, where your health is our priority.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
Folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu, pepo
itakuwa ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Badala ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili.
Bila uoga, watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Imagine a world where you are empowered to take charge of your health, where you are well informed about the latest advancements in healthcare and understand the policies that impact your well-being. Get ready to take charge of matters your health as we bring you a blend of weekly health features that engage professionals from across various medical fields.
When do you decide as a patient, do I need to go see the doctor? We are at a stage where we are seeing all this manner of chronic illnesses and we wait until we get a disease and then is when we go ahead.
From the most mundane to the complexities that perhaps seem overwhelming, we got you covered.
In terms of the factors that might be attributed, there are hereditary factors that means it could be genetic, so that's one factor. But there are other factors as well, like nutritional deficiencies. So some vitamins such as folate have been identified to be a factor in those. So
our mission is to break down intricate health topics into understandable and actionable insights. Join me, Yvonne Kimuma, every Wednesday 9 p.m. on KUTV's News at 9, where your health is our priority.
back. Now, we have had so much going on throughout the show, from news updates to telling you what is going to be affecting your pocket. And right now, we are having a newspaper review, and in studio, I am joined by two very elite gentlemen, I must say. Wengine wanani challenge kiakili, wengine wanani challenge kimantiki, in kilugha. And it's all a good engagement we are having right now. So I am joined by Blue Smile Hassan. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. And I'm also joined by Robin Karani, Wakili. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Now, we are having a very important discussion this morning. The country is talking about so much. So much is going on, and that's why the country is talking about so much. From political marriage fallouts or divorces, and going forward to the Gen Z protest and the BBC documentary, moving to leaders criticizing each other, the broad-based government, going forward to bosses accusing their former bosses and all that, and leaders included in that mix. So just to set us rolling this morning, we are going to begin by what is currently trending in our country, and that is concerning the recently released documentary that points our Kenya Defense Forces, our Kenya Police Service to be shooting at the protesters who are armless. And it's a shoot to kill order according to that report. From where you sit, Blue Smile, let me begin from your end. From where you sit, do you think that this is something that should be embraced by our country, considering we are to be patriotic? You know that time when they're telling you that when someone is married and a husband is told that whenever you're with your in-laws and all that, even if your wife makes a mistake, defend them. But when you are together, correct your wife. So as a country, we have been criticizing ourselves so much. And now it is time that the international media stations are also releasing criticism of our own nation. Do you think that this is a good step you're moving as a country?
Kwanza kabisa ni kushukuru kwa mara nyingine na timu nzima ambayo inafanikisha newspaper review ya Biashara Tuesday kwa kunialika tena. Na niseme tu kuna mambo mengi ambayo yametokea. Tukiangazia hii inaitwa Bloody Parliament, ambayo ni makala yametolewa na BBC. Ni makala ambayo yamezua hisia tofauti tofauti. Ningependa ni jibu swali lako baada ya kutoa hizi hoja tatu. Makala haya kwanza yanaweza toa vitu vitatu. Yanaweza fanya tuwe na hisia ambazo zinaweza kuwa zina chochea watu. La pili, makala haya yanaweza kuwa basi yanatafutia haki wale watu ambao wanahusika katika yale mauaji, wale ambao wameathirika sana katika yale mauaji. Jambo la tatu, makala haya yanaweza kuwa basi yametumika kupinga serikali. Kwa hivyo ni mambo ambayo kama unavyoangalia hichi kioo kwa angles tatu. Kwa hawa jamaa wanaweza kuwa ni hisia wanataka kutoa kwa watu ndio wachochee. Ya pili inaweza kuwa basi ni critic. Ya tatu ni wanajaribu kuangalia ni jinsi gani ambavyo labda wana mbinu zao wanataka kuziweka katika nchi, na wanaangalia kwa sababu ni mambo ya siasa za kikanda, international politics. Wao kama BBC kuja critic kile ambacho kinaendelea hapa nchini, ni kama unavyosema inaweza kuwa basi ni agenda fulani wanazo, na labda ni jambo baya kwa sura ya Kenya katika sura ya kimataifa. Lakini siwezi sema kwamba kama hao ni kama katika sekta, katika ile nyumba kwamba bibi unaweza mkosoa lakini nje itakuwa ni kesi, lazima mdefend. Hapo Kenya sijui kama wako na nafasi ama wako na any option hapa ya kumdefend serikali, kwa sababu pia Wakenya wameathirika hao kwa hao, kwa sababu finance bill ilipokataliwa ni Wakenya wengi walienda kwenye streets. Na ukiangalia hata wakati wakienda kwenye streets, ni kwamba kulikuwa na hii public discontent. Kila mtu alikuwa hafurahii. Si kwamba ati kulikuwa na sekta fulani ambayo ilikuwa inafurahia. Karibu watu wengi wako nafurahia. Kwa hivyo hapa sidhani kama wananchi wako na nafasi ya kuitetea serikali, lakini niseme tu kwamba BBC wamekuwa wakifanya mambo kama haya katika nchi tofauti, na kuna nchi ambazo zimeban BBC. Ukiangalia basi Communication Authority wamesema kwamba broadcasters wamesema kwamba walikatazwa air hii Blood Parliament kwa baadhi ya TV hapa nchini kwa sababu authorities, hawajasema authority gani, authorities zimesema kwamba air. Kwa hivyo ukiangalia kwamba kuna hiyo push kwamba as much as kuna pressure on the government to address on the killings, to make sure that the alleged killers are brought to book, but pia kuna hiyo pressure ya kwamba hawa watu kazi yao ni kuvunja, kwa sababu ukiangalia nchi kama Rwanda na nchi zingine katika especially hizo east countries in the Russia, some of those countries, so kuna agenda tofauti ambazo ziko hapa na BBC. Naam.
Okay, so coming to Robin, there's a comment I saw that someone said that niliona Anifa nikajua ini what was the word? The word is gone, but yeah, niliona Anifa nikajua ini gig. So there is a fraction of Kenyans who think that this is just a propaganda, and there's also another fraction that thinks that BBC is doing what our Kenyan investigative agency are not doing. From where you sit, what's your take on this current development?
Okay, let me start by first acknowledging that I have watched that documentary more than 4 times. And most of the time when I watch it, I can pinpoint to where I was standing at the exact moment. So for most of us who are in the protest, we see it and we feel like this could have been me. It could have been me. It could have been any one of us. Now, I just want to kind of flip it from where we have come from. Now, most of us are more of talking of why BBC is doing this, what the state is saying about it. But one thing I want us to remember, that BBC has not created a movie for us. It has not reported on their opinion. It has just shown us what was happening. For most of us, we watched this thing in real life. We were there when these things were happening. But most of us would say it. I remember I posted on Twitter when I was there that the MPs are running away using ambulances meant for the protesters. And I got a lot of backlash when I posted at that time. But until the documentary came out, that's when people were like, oh yeah, there were people who were saying that this was happening. But until someone comes out and shows you, then we tend to have these backstories of going to, why are you posting? Why is it Hanifa not? Why are you not talking about Ademba? Nobody knew Ademba before this documentary. But now, once he comes out, once he goes to 2 things, now he says, oh, he's Ford Foundation, or he's being given money. But at one point, we have to come to the realization that we are speaking of a truth, of something that really happened. And that is what we should be discussing. As a country, are we in a position that we should be talking about killing of Kenyans in such a casual manner? And talking of Western influence, talking of what should be aired, or what are the interests of who and what, and why are we criticizing the government? But the real question begs on, have we come to the realization that we have a weak IPOA, that it's been almost a year since that incident, and it is the media that is giving us more information than as an institution that we have created through a constitution and called it an independent police oversight authority that has no answers to what happened. But when an international media house comes and says and shows us what was happening, then we start. That's when we start fighting. Oh, this is not good for our country at this moment. But it happened. When will it ever be good for our country to talk about the things that are happening? I am a big advocate for SDG 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions. And one thing that we fight is to the end of extrajudicial killings. And that is what we should be actually discussing on this whole issue that has come up. We should not be talking about who is BBC, where have they what have they done, where were they, or why is Babu Owino they are not Kimani Ichung'wah or something of the sort. What we should be discussing is that there were extrajudicial killings and everybody is turning a blind eye. And if we continue focusing on what one of my favorite comedians said, that we are a country of major minor, we major on minor issues. That's what I feel is happening, because the whole issue is on extrajudicial killings, and that is by far illegal, unlawful, and just an injustice everywhere. And if we are to speak of the thing that is happening, it's the extrajudicial killings. Hapa mtaani, when my boys walk around, they will tell you, kuuliwa na polisi ni kitu kidogo. You get shot by a police, people do not discuss that a police shot you or that you are unarmed. They just start discussing on whether you were engaged with the wrong crowd or you used to do stealing, but you can be taken to court. So why don't we focus on the actual thing that is hitting our country? If you turn a blind eye to the fact that there are extrajudicial killings in Kenya and discuss these minor issues around how that has been exposed to the world, we will never move as a country. Yes.
So how do you feel about the move to ban BBC, the proposal rather, to ban BBC? It's still at the ideology stage of banning BBC in the country.
I want to point to something. That during the documentary, BBC explains that it used over 5,000 footages from different people who are recording during the protest. Most of us who are in the protest would go live. I would go live on TikTok most of the time. Even at the point of going to parliament, I was live until somehow the network just disappeared. But at that point, how many BBC will you have to ban for us not to speak about what is happening? Our main weapon as protesters was a phone of recording what is happening. Most of the things that were there were recorded with phones. They will not tell you that, but it's phones that recorded most of those videos. And even if you ban BBC, you ban CNN, you steal mainstream media. On that June 25th, I happened to be called for a TV show just after we breached parliament. And I was doing live commentary for what is happening at the TV station. We were locked there. We came out at around 1 a.m. because we couldn't come out. And the media stations were stopped. So how many things will you have to ban or mute just so we cannot speak about what is happening? If the government was to come out clear and say, okay, now we have realized that as a country we have a problem with extrajudicial killings, how do we propose to address this? But we are dealing with symptoms, or it is BBC who have said. Is it BBC who are on the streets? Will banning BBC bring back the lives that were lost on that day? I feel it is a wrong move. I feel it is a distraction and just moving us away from the real issue that was trying to be addressed. I know I have had the issue of why BBC decided to release this video at this time, but I believe there was never a good time to speak about this. There is never a good time to speak about extrajudicial killings. One life lost is one life too many. And if we lost 60, BBC does a documentary on just 3. You want to ban BBC. How many will you kill for us to get to the point where we can sit and say, okay, this cannot happen? Police should not have that monopoly of taking your life. They go to Narok and they start shooting people on the same day that they are saying we ban BBC. So who will they ban in Kilgoris now that the police shot 5 people? We need to get to that point of speaking truth to one another as a nation. As you have said, they say when you're in a marriage, you don't criticize your wife in public. You go back to the bedroom to correct her. But at the same time, the marriages or the relationships that go long term are relationships that speak truth to one another. If you want me to smile and say everything is okay so that we can meet behind in the bedroom, a person who will kill and beat people in public, when you go to the bedroom, he will kill you. There is no bedroom we are going to speak with our government that this and this is wrong. Let's leave international media out. Without those, when the international media is there, you are killing us. When we back sisi na wewe utafanya nini?
Okay. Okay. Now, Blue Swale, there is the question of accountability. Accountability in terms of government taking responsibility, both to save the country's image and taking accountability on those responsible for the killings. So do you think this a potential move to ban the live broadcasts and all that, do you think it's a right move for the country?
Tukiangalia upande wa uchochezi ni sawa, kwa sababu hujui watu ule ujumbe ambao yale makala yanayotoa hujui ni ujumbe gani, kwa sababu mambo yalianza hivi atakuelezea wakati wa finance bill. Watu walianza hivi ilikuwa ni sensitization kuhusu vile yale ambayo yalikuwa katika ile bill, lakini watu walichukulia tofauti, hisia zilikuwa mseto. Mtu, kwa sababu sisi ni watu ambao sisi ni vijana ambao jinsi tunavyo handle hasira na emotions tofauti kidogo. Kwa hivyo yale ambayo yalishuhudiwa katika ile siku ya June 25th ambapo watu walianza tu hisia mchezo wakaenda town CBD. Alipofika pale kukakuwa ile msukumo kwamba tuingie parliament, vitu kama hivyo, kwa sababu sidhani kama ilikuwa imepangwa jinsi watu walikuwa nasema. Ni ile msukumo wa ule wakati kwamba tuingie parliament, wengine wanasema kwani tunaweza fanya nini, wote wakaingia parliament, na yale yaliyotokea ni yale ambayo tumeona katika makala ya BBC. Kwa hivyo kama zile sensitization against the finance bill zilileta haya, makala ambayo yanaonyesha yale mabaya yaliyofanyika pale yakifika kwa jamii, kwa sababu ukiangalia iko katika mtandao wa YouTube na katika mitandao ya kijamii, lakini sasa ukisema kwamba unaonyesha katika televisheni, ni watu wengi wanaangalia habari, ama watu ambao hata kama vijana waangalia habari lakini watenda katika waangalie runinga waone vitu kama hivyo, kwa sababu mtu anaweza kuwa hana bundles lakini package ya runinga ama free to air ako nayo. Kwa hivyo ujumbe ambao unaweza tumwa na haya makala unaweza kuwa tofauti. Labda si ujumbe ambao umepaniwa na BBC. Labda BBC walikuwa wanataka haki itendeke, lakini makala haya yanaweza tuma ujumbe tofauti. Ndio maana sina maoni sana kwamba ni vizuri BBC iweze kutolewa nchini, kwa sababu mimi ni mwanahabari, lakini ningesema kwamba tukisema accountability, hata media inafaa ikuwe very accountable kwa vitu kama hivi. Ukiangalia kuna nadharia ambayo inajaribu kurushwa kwamba hawa jamaa wale ambao protesters walikuwa pale walikuwa very innocent, vitu kama hivyo, lakini kuna kitu ambao wanasahau, ni kwamba mgala tumue na haki yake tumpe. Ni ukiangalia kwamba parliament is a protected area, na hata kama kulikuwa na hisia tofauti kwamba lazima tuende parliament nini, lakini haikufaa kufika pale, na silaumu kwamba wajenzi walifanya makosa kufika pale, na laumu mchakato mzima, hata vyombo vya usalama. Kuna mambo mengi ambayo yalifanyika vibaya ambayo yakasababisha paka vijana wajenzi kwenda pale, lakini hiyo si sababu maalum ya kufanya kwamba kujustify zile killings ambazo zilifanyika. Mimi nasema kwamba lazima tukue accountable in such a way, pia hatutasababisha ama tutachochea watu warudi tena parliament, kwa sababu sisemi kwamba wale ambao walikufa kwamba walifanya mauaji au vandalized parliament, lakini parliament ilikuwa vandalized. Sasa asiseme kwamba wale ambao walihusika walikuwa na simu na nini ndio walihusika katika kufanya uchochezi nini ndio wakaweza kumalizwa. Sisemi hivyo, lakini hata kama hawakumaliza, lakini kuna mtu alifanya vile, kuna mambo yalitokea na Kenya ilikuwa karibu na kuchomeka. ni ukweli useme kwamba Kenya ilikuwa, kwa sababu tukiendelea kufanya uchochezi nchi itachomeka, kwa sababu kuna demokrasia ambazo zimechomeka. Ukiangalia katika DRC, demokrasia ya Kongo mambo ni yale yale. Mimi si nyoshi kidole cha lawama, nasema kwamba Kenya ni yetu sote, ubaya tulionao ni wetu kama nchi. Tuangalie jinsi ambavyo tutautatua kwa njia mwafaka, njia nzuri ambazo hazileti katika vurugu, kwa sababu Kenya imeshuhudia vurugu ambayo imeua maelfu ya watu. Hii vurugu hatusikii tu Rwanda, hatusikii DRC. 2007 tulikuwa na vurugu kama hii. Na tunaenda 2027. Kwa hivyo tunafaa tuwe na umakini wa hali ya juu kwamba tusirudi kule ambapo tulikotoka. Naam.
Okay. That is well said. You
I have so many rebuttals.
I saw kuna kitu inakuuma. I'll give you a minute before we move to the next topic.
Okay, so I just want to point out things. That number one, before June 25th, we had been to the streets 2 days before that. We had other 2 protests before that. Number two, we were making our demands very clear. I personally, I come from this Resambo constituency. I used to even text my MP. Right now, we cannot see eye to eye, because I used to do videos for him and tell him, you are our representative in that book. Kindly don't vote yes. He voted yes all through. On June 25th, it was the last vote, so that now it goes to the president. And what they would do is they would come with so much bravado. We would watch those things online. Bunge is televised. Wewe uko huko nje, basking, trying to call for accountability or to call for things that help the country as a nation. Na mtu wako huko ndani anasema mmekuja na iPhone na mnaenda na Uber na mnaenda Kenchik, you don't know what a problem KFC amjui shida ni nini. There are some things that you do, and then when we try to retaliate, that's when you remember that this country can ban. I really hate that narrative, that when things are being done bad by the state, this country cannot ban. But when the citizens revolt against the state, now this country can ban. I want to also make it clear that the fight between the young people and the government is not what was seen in 2007. We do not recognize tribe in our groupings. We do not recognize classes in our groupings. If you have an iPhone, if you have what we call a kamatumbo, you're free to join us. But what we are against is that tyranny and that bad, or what I would call poor governance. It's time we start talking, just saying the truth. When you speak and then you are told wewe ni mtoto una PhD, those are the things that lead us to where we are. We are not talking of the problem of a nation. It is not our problem. We are talking of the problem of a leadership. We need a leadership that can listen to us, that can resonate with us. You don't go, I can give you an example. You come up with a program for CBC, then you say you're going to make mathematics not compulsory. Then when Kenyans start talking about it or making comments about it, you go and change and use a lot of money to do media campaigns and to do press conferences to tell us that now mathematics will be compulsory. What are you doing to us? How is that helping us? You listen to what we are saying, and then you implement what we are saying and go on with the program. You don't use money to just come and tell us that you did what we asked you to do. And that's what we are having over and over again. But when it comes from the citizen, it is instability. When it comes from the state, it is okay. We can continue. You go get your voters card and tutakutana 2027. And getting that voters card, you need an ID. Umeitishwa dha utatoa wapi? So we are having that back and forth, and I would like to just make it clear that these are two different things. What was being fought in 2007 was for people to acquire power. For certain people or certain communities to feel that they have acquired power. What we are fighting right now is not even, we don't even have a quote-unquote presidential candidate. We will even vote for a chair just to remove whoever is on that seat. That's where we are.
Vote for chair. Now coming back, that you brought the conversation on voting. This is the Star. It has a discussion. Their biggest headline is Anxiety Rocks UDA Party over Raila 2027 plans. And I think it's also the case in one of the papers. If it's not People Daily, it's the Daily Nation. About the short-lived truce, that is the Daily Nation. So we have marriages zinavunjwa hapa because today I've really talked about marriage.
You should be telling us something.
Tunakuombea.
Tunaona kama unaelekea mahali.
Mimi bado mdogo. So there is a relationship between a former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then Deputy President, who is the current President, William Ruto. They have disagreement. Everyone goes their way. Fast forward, it moves forward to 2024, 2023, 2024. The Gen Z do their thing, and now there's another new marriage formed between Raila Odinga and President William Ruto. And now the regime accuses former president of, I hope you all heard that, the accusation of former president funding the Gen Z Maandamano. And while this marriage is being formed of Raila Odinga and William Ruto, another one is broken also between William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, who is also accused of funding Maandamanos. So it's like a cycle of marriage and breakup. The breakup is because there is fear that I want to be unseated, and now you have to go, and now you are a bad person because of that fear. And now the recent remarks by former President Uhuru Kenyatta that the young generation should be taking up spaces has really sparked reactions. I'm combining both the Daily Nation and the Star, both the headlines. So there is that argument. And now the Star says that there is tension. If this marriage between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, if Raila Odinga has a presidential candidate, that is a challenge at the 2027 election. At the same time, Rigathi Gachagua is planning to have his own party. I think in the month of March, he'll be launching his party.
May.
Yeah, in the month of May, he'll be launching his party. Uhuru Kenyatta is also having his presidential candidate under the Jubilee Party. They're fronting Fred Matiang'i. So it's a power game cutting across. If you're supporting me, you're a good person. If you're not supporting me, you're a bad person. So let me begin with you, Robin, from where you sit. How is this affecting us as a country? Because what is the time they're having for service delivery? Because it's constant mixing power and politics all the time, playing governance and politics at the same time. When are they going to deliver services to us? Or do you think this power and politics cannot be separated, like governance and politics cannot be separated? And if it can be separated, how relevant will it be for our country?
Okay, let me start by saying this. There's a saying that says that when a hippopotamus comes out of the water and tells you that the crocodile is sick, you better believe him. President Ruto and William Ruto President Uhuru and William Ruto were in one basket, and Uhuru came out and told us that Ruto is not well, but we did not listen at that time. Now, fast forward to where we are now. The people that have been quote-unquote kicked out of the UDA regime are all coming out with one story. Rigathi is chased out, they did this and this, they are not well. Muturi comes out, they're abducting young people, they abducted my son, they are not doing well. Dindi Nyoro is the one who said something quite interesting that I picked, and he said that the president focuses on managing politics rather than managing the country, which is what I believe has been happening. I believe that once you have a political party, there's one thing that we had borrowed from China, from both the Uhuru regime and now the Ruto regime, of making our Secretary General of the ruling party to be a cabinet secretary without portfolio. what that was meant to cure was that they would make the party now influence the cabinet and the decisions that have been taken by the state, and that would remove the work of the president from managing politics and to managing the country as the head of the executive. But apparently we have a president who wants to be both in the kitchen to serve you, to welcome you from the door, yet aitwe baba wa nyumba, but atapika, aoshe vyombo, awekele. That's what he does. So he ends up being the one to do all this. And unfortunately, even if you try, even if you are who, you will not be able to match the two. I believe one thing we learned from President Uhuru is he tried to be the one to run politics and make cabinet secretaries who are technocrats who would run with the show as he's managing his politics. Now, when you have someone who is the one managing politics and he wants to manage the ministries, so at the end of the day, what you end up having is just vita za hapa na pale zenye hazieleweki. Now, from the marriage that we have between Raila and Ruto, it's already showing cracks. You already have dissenting opinions. These ones have already started accusing those ones of having double speak, or the other ones are saying we have a democratic, say we are orange democratic movement, so democracy is what we fight for. Then the other one is the United Democratic Alliance, so their democracy is a bit defined different from the one from orange. I don't know. It's just what I see from my end, and as a person who's not been on either side for now, is that I just see monkeys changing forests and now trying to tell us that because we are in this forest, then we are better monkeys than we were when we were there. And there is no difference. What President Uhuru has been saying on youth issues, I think he's trying to point to something that we are all assuming and going after his personality or his persona. It's something that I think this government very focuses on it so much. When you come out right now and say something wrong or not happening well in this country, we will not listen to what you are saying. The government will spend so much time and bloggers and energy on your person, on the things you have done or you didn't. When you say of Matiang'i right now, they will start speaking of Rivayala, of Ruaraka landscape, not what he has said. When Muturi stands up and says, they start saying he's incompetent, we didn't do what as AG, they even give false things of Islam endowment fund, which is not in existence. But that's what we have been, that major minor thing, that's what we are being treated to. I believe what I am seeing is that the president is trying to point to something. Before he left office, he had said at one point that we have an issue with the youth patch. And if you don't figure out what to do with them, they will be a problem to you. That's what he said when he was in office. Now we are discussing things because of what the young people did to this government. That's what is happening. So even now what he's talking about, he's pointing to something that if wewe ni mjanja utaweza to take it or to grab that chance and go with it. I will not speak about his party and Matiang'i because I believe that has not been made official. All of us are just speculating. I just want to focus on that youth issue. On these marriages that are happening, we told them, these are just the same people. There is no one who cares about you. In politics, there are only two things: interest and betrayal. One will always betray the other, and as long as their interests align, they will always agree. Kabogo was out here when we were campaigning, when we were on maandamano, saying the government is not doing well. Then once we get killed, he's called to office and given a CS job. Now the government is good. So just seeing from that, do you see a marriage there? It's
of interest.
It's quite, I would say, depressing. When I was doing my judicial attachment, I had a magistrate who I really love and follow. He's called Carrie Francis, and he was really against this divorce issue. And he would really try to make people who came to him with divorce cases, take them for counseling, force them to do mediation, trying to get to the root of the problem. And most of the time he would ask very silly questions. He would come and say, you are complaining that your wife goes out a lot. You are complaining your husband is never at home, he goes away for long. But you guys, one is a journalist, the other one is an event organizer. You met at an event at night. Then you got married. You loved each other, you got married. Now once you're married, you don't want the event planner to go to the events, and you don't want the journalist to go to the field. What is that? So that's exactly what we are learning from this political leaders.
Okay. So Blue Smile, now back to you. What do you think about how politics and governance are mixed in this country?
Kwanza kabisa naomba nichukue hili swala la uhuru ambalo la migawanyiko. Niseme kwamba kumekuwa na Uhuru ni mtu ambaye amekuwa kwa siasa kwa muda mrefu, na aliweza basi kufanya kazi kwa karibu sana na Rais William Ruto wakati wa ile azma yake ya kumrithi Moi ya mwaka 2002. Kwa hivyo ni watu ambao wamefanya kazi kwa pamoja na wamerudi kufanya kazi kwa pamoja walipokuwa na tengeneza serikali ya mwaka 2013, na wamekuwa kwa ndoa ya kisiasa na ya serikali kwa muda wa miaka 10, na kuna zile sintofahamu ambazo zilikuwa na vuta nikuvute za huku, kila mwamba ngoma akivutia kwake. Ukiangalia basi kitumbua kilingia mchanga pale baada, yani uchaguzi wa mwaka 2017 ulipokuwa unaanza kuingia, kuonekana basi Ruto alikuwa na azma yake ya kuwa rais, na ilikuwa inaonekana kwamba Uhuru huenda kwamba hata muunga mkono. Waliposema kwamba Uhuru 10 na Ruto 10. Na kama ilivyosemekana ni kwamba mwaka 2022 Uhuru hakumsupporti Ruto. Na ni ndio ambayo imekuwa na vuta nikuvute huku na huku. Lakini unajua kulikuwa na swala zima la mlima ambapo katika zile hesabu zake Rais William Ruto alipokuwa anaona kwamba huenda kwamba hata hamhitaji Gachagua, aliamua basi kurudiana. Kumbuka basi zile kampeni zote za mwaka 2022 zilikuwa ni kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta anatuletea mtu ambaye hatumpendi, anatuletea Raila Odinga mlimani, na kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta ametuingiza katika dimbwi la madeni, Uhuru Kenyatta ametufanyia mambo mengi mabaya. Kwa hivyo yule mtu ambaye alikuwa kipaza sauti katika vita dhidi ya Uhuru Kenyatta alikuwa ni Rigathi Gachagua, ambaye sasa anaonekana kama mesaya. Na ukiangalia vitu vile vyote ambavyo vilitokea, na ni kama Rais Ruto aliona kwamba ili aweze kupenya mlimani vizuri ni lazima awe na ile uhusiano mzuri ama rapo nzuri na Uhuru Kenyatta. Akaenda pale Ishweri, akaenda na zile mbuzi na ng'ombe, na baada ya ule mkutano wa Ishweri kulikuwa na ile truce ambayo Daily Nation imeongelea. Ile truce ilipofanyika pale, baadhi ya wandani wa Uhuru Kenyatta, mmoja wao akiwa ni Kabogo, waliweza kuingia katika serikali. Sasa ni waziri wa mawasiliano. Kuna waziri wa Liki Njuri wameingia. Kuna baadhi takriban watu 4 wameingia katika serikali ya Rais Ruto. Kama jinsi wale experts wa Raila Odinga walipoingia katika serikali ya Rais Ruto, kulikuwa na ile utulivu kule Nyanza, na watu Nyanza wanamuunga mkono Rais Ruto. Lakini Mlima Kenya mambo yamekuwa tofauti kidogo, kwa sababu hesabu za rais kwamba wale watu 4 walipoingia ingeonyesha kwamba serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta na msapoti Rais Ruto, lakini haionekani kwa sababu bado mlimani, ili yakue mlima lazima tumie rasilimali nyingi zaidi. Ni kweli, lakini yani mlima ni kama haujamkubali Rais Ruto tena. Na alikuwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta naye mwenyewe pia haonyeshi kwamba yupo ndani ya serikali. anaonyesha kwamba ametokea katika mikutano ya hadhara mara chache, lakini ujumbe wake ni kwamba vijana, huu ni wakati wenu, msikubali kutumiwa vibaya. Lakini ukiangalia vijana ni wakati wetu kweli sisi kama vijana, lakini mkutano wako na Rais Ruto ulikupa nyadhifa 4 za serikali, lakini unatuambia kwamba vijana ni wakati wetu. Alienda Makerere, akatokea ibada misa ya mwisho ya Papa Francisco. Ujumbe wake ulikuwa ni kama anaipinga serikali ya rais. Ujumbe kutoka kwa wandani wa Rais Ruto wanasema kwamba Uhuru anajifanya kama baba wa taifa. Anajifanya kwamba mabaya yote hayakufanyika katika serikali yake. Anajifanya kwamba yeye ndo swala, yani yeye ni kama Jomo Kenyatta hivi fulani. Yani yeye ndo piety fulani, kwamba yeye ni mtakatifu, vitu vingine havikufanyika. Anasahau kwamba kuna matukio kama ya Rivala ambayo watu wanaongelea, kuna matukio mengi, kuna madeni, lakini Uhuru Kenyatta anajitokeza kama mtu ambaye ndio suluhisho la Wakenya. Yeye ni suluhisho, lakini hata hawezi kuingia katika, kwa sababu amekuwa rais tayari. Lakini ile sura ambayo aliyekuwa rais Uhuru Kenyatta anakuja nayo ndio inaleta tashwishi kidogo, kwa sababu baadhi ya matatizo ambayo Kenya iko nayo ni yalisababishwa na Uhuru Kenyatta. Kwa hivyo wandani wa Rais William Ruto hawamuelewi aliyekuwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, kwa sababu mawaziri yupo nao katika serikali ya Rais Ruto. Ako na vitu vingi katika serikali ya Rais Ruto. Hata yale matakwa yake anapewa katika serikali ya Rais Ruto kwa heshima ya ofisi yake kama aliyekuwa rais, lakini bado anaonekana kumpinga Rais Ruto. Kwa hivyo hicho ndio kitendawili ambacho kinatokea. Kwa hivyo haijulikani kwamba wale ambao waliingia katika serikali kama marafiki wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta wanaleta impact gani katika hii serikali. Kwa sababu wacha nikwambie kitu kimoja, politics na governance ni the same thing. Kwa sababu kwa hii nchi wale ambao wana make decisions ni politicians. Politicians make the decisions for us. Ukiangalia leo ukikosana na mtu ambaye ako na ushawishi mkubwa katika serikali, kama wewe ni mbunge, huenda kwamba hutapata mgao mzuri katika eneo bunge lako, hutapata rasilimali nzuri kunradhi katika bunge lake. Ni jambo baya, lakini huo ndio ukweli halisi wa hivyo. Kwa hivyo ni mchakato mzima ambao una kama mtihani fulani ama kitendawili fulani ambacho ni kigumu kutatua. Haijulikani kwamba ndoa hizi za kisiasa zitafika mpaka mwaka 2027. Haipo dhahiri kwamba Raila Odinga, kama alivyo point out, kwamba kuna migawanyiko mianya kati ya Raila Odinga na Uhuru Kenyatta, hasa mambo ya demokrasia, kila mambo anavutia kwake. Kwa hivyo haijulikani kwa sasa, lakini mimi sidhani kwamba kitendawili ni kwamba Rais William Ruto ni wapo Rais William Ruto atashinda uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027, lakini kitendawili kikubwa ni Rais William Ruto atawezaje kugawa nyadhifa katika, iwapo kwamba watamsimamisha Rais William Ruto, itakuwaje? Kutakuwa na makubaliano yapi kati ya Rais Uhuru Kenyatta na Raila Odinga?
Okay. On that same note, because our time is really not on our side, actually our time is up, I'll give you a minute for a final remark, and then when you're on a final remark.
Mimi kama fan wa Arsenal, leo tunashuka dimbani dhidi ya timu ndogo PSG. Ni timu ambayo tumeicheza nayo tayari, lakini inaarifiwa kwamba imenolewa makali. Lakini unajua Arsenal ni chuma cha moto. Kwa hivyo niseme tu mimi nasema kwamba tutachukua mabao 3 kwa heshima tu ya vijana, kwa sababu huko uga wa nyumbani hataki kuaibisha sana. Na tayari tumewachapa 2 pale nyumbani. Kwa hivyo nasema tu kwa ujumla kwamba sisi kama Arsenal, nilisema katika hii show kwamba Arsenal itashinda Champions League. Na ni kweli, ni dhahiri kwamba Arsenal inashinda Champions League. Asante.
Same kitu. Robin, to your final remarks.
Okay, so I'll start by appreciating this opportunity and noting that I have had some phone calls going on. I have been asked to send greetings to Kirenyaga, to a lady called Ann Kajiado, a Kili called Waigwa. They have decided to watch and call when I am on stage. But I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for the kind of conversations that we are having, and to moving forward and to what I am saying. This country will only be moved if we are actually invested in moving this country. but this country will not be changed with majoring on minor issues.
Very much in order. Thank you so much. That is Wakili. Thank you for making time for us this morning. Pleasure to have you on board. Blue Smile, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. Now that is the newspaper review. Thank you so much for staying with us for the last 2 hours, 30 minutes or so, and for being part of this discussion. I hope to see you next week on the same. We'll be on a new month, a month where we'll be discussing the budget making process and budgets and budgets and budgets and Finance Bill 2025-2026. See you then.